Welcome to the Game On podcast. Tonight, Port are primed to take on Geelong this week at the Adelaide Oval. The AFLW gets underway with both SA teams in the showdown. And Centrals come from behind to stun Sturt in the SANFL finals. Let's do this. Welcome to the Game On podcast. My name's Pete once again. Malcolm joined in the studio here. And what's your good for the weekend, mate?
Centrals. To be fair, look, they haven't got as much talent as the other teams, but hats off to Paul Thomas and the Dogs. They're organised, they're structured, they stick to it. I thought they were leaving their run a bit late before trying to attack, but full credit to them, and Sturt stopped.
Yep.
I thought they actually choked. They were very disorganised with structure in the last 15 to 20 minutes, but really well done to Centrals.
Absolutely. Well, we did sort of flag that Centrals might be a little bit of a wild card, I suppose, come this final series, and they proved it right from the get-go.
Oh, and Dyson Sharp, 17, not eligible for this year's draft. He's next year's.
Yep.
He was the guy who changed the game after halftime.
Yep.
And full credit to the kid. And rap for Bo Thomas, Jamie Thomas. We will get Jamie on the show at some stage.
Mm-hmm.
His lad had probably his best league game. And yeah, to say Jamie was over the moon after the game, him and Platts they were back to, I reckon, their 80 running times in going past to get to the Central's change rooms, of which, amusingly, the guy on the door did not know who John Platten was to start with.
Ouch.
We were watching it on the screen.
Oh, ouch.
I was with Fester and we were pissing ourselves laughing.
Yep.
But my actual highlight of the day, and I haven't said this to you, Pete, off air yet.
Yep.
So leave the game where I'm up past the Queen's Head where I park my car,
yes.
Walk in the car. This guy gets picked up, gets in the car, Sturt supporter, slams the door and broke the hinges on the back passenger door.
No way.
The person driving is going off his brain at him. I reckon the guy realised that we're all desperately trying to take photos and he drove off like a rocket. So disappointed I didn't manage to get a photo. And the door didn't come off, the hinges had, and the guy was having to hold it.
Wow.
And we literally, even Sturt supporters were crying with laughter.
Let's put a shout out to see if anyone got a photo, see if they can send it into the Facebook
huge.
socials page. That'd be amazing.
It was hilarious.
My good for the weekend, mate, was probably the AFLW getting underway. I know it was a showdown here in Adelaide. It was just nice to sit back on a Saturday night, watch a bit of footy here locally in Adelaide, and the crowd, they said it was a sold-out crowd. It didn't quite look sold out, but it was enough.
It was a good-sized crowd. There's no doubt about that. And look, hats off there to the way they sell it, but how that gets so many more people than SANFL games still has me beat.
Yep.
And the standard's improving, the girls. And
Absolutely.
I go to women's footy, so don't dare out there anyone think and that. But, yeah, and look, it is improving. There's no doubt about that.
Well, that was my good for the weekend. I actually thought round one, new season, we'd start to see a little bit of improvement, and they've come along in leaps and bounds. And I know we got a little bit of a highlight there at the beginning of our show that shows the Adelaide player just turning on a 20-cent piece and delivering beautifully.
Yeah.
I think we're going to start to see that a lot more, and that's what's exciting about it.
The down thing was the two Eston girls
getting injured.
And, Too Good's done a fair bit of damage to her knee and may miss the year
They're
from
talking
that collision.
8 to 10 weeks, but we'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk AFLW. All right, mate, let's get into Around the Grounds.
Around the Grounds.
All right, mate, as per usual, we're going to look at the SANFL in a little bit more depth. We're going to talk some Saka cricket, some local Premier League fixtures, and we're going to talk about some more of the retiring class of 2024 in the AFL men's program. But first, let's kick off with the AFL. Let's stick with Port Adelaide up first here. Port, who do they look to shut down and make the game a little easier to control? Because this is going to be a blockbuster game at Adelaide Oval in the second qualifying final.
I think if Stewart plays and he's in doubt, I'm sure Port will try and play him defensively like they did last time. Dangerfield didn't play in the game at
but neither did Rosie.
Look, I think Port's midfield dynamics is better than Geelong's, and I think Port will win. But geez, if they miss a few goals early and Port and Geelong kick a couple, well, as we know, they ain't got the monkey on the back. They got the whole zoo at the moment. So,
the gorilla gets heavier and heavier if they do lose. So Cameron's going to be very, very important to them. Do we see somebody like an Aliir do a run with role? Because I think he's probably the only defender that can keep up with him.
I'm not sure if he can. If Cameron floats up and back, I'm not sure. But it could well be Thatcher gets the
run with role.
So it'll be interesting what they do, but
because Aliir, if he's not quite in his positions, he does look at sea, doesn't he?
He does get lost.
Yeah.
He needs to be back. He needs to be running straight ahead at the ball. Obviously, the +1 role, but all of us are better without an opponent.
Of course.
So I'm not having a crack at him there.
Not at all.
But if he does have to pick Cameron up,
Who's the X factor for Port Adelaide? You've sort of mentioned the midfield. Horne-Francis is probably the one.
He's the one because he also goes forward. And then, if they isolate him out in 50, he's a very hard matchup. I've already seen him absolutely dominate the crap out of a final for South Adelaide, where he was the South Adelaide side versus Glenelg in that prelim.
And it's wherever he was, kick it the other side of the ground.
Yeah, Brett Ham made no secret that's what he was instructing after the game, and couldn't blame Brett for that whatsoever.
Absolutely. So can we see him stepping up at the AFL level? You think he's built for final?
Yeah, I do.
Bit like Nathan Buckley?
I think he's a Mr. September.
Yeah, and Nathan Buckley was very much that way too.
Nice warm weather here, so you don't think it'll be dewy on Thursday night. Thursday's still meant to be a good day, so I think it's a case of the speed, and I can see Rosie Butters, Horne-Francis being too quick for the Cats.
You stole my thunder there. I was going to talk about the weather and whether you thought it might play a little bit of a part.
I think it does.
Being obviously the September months are a little bit drier, it's going to probably aid them a little bit more. They've lost two key backmen, Houston obviously with the suspension and now Farrell. Just looking at some of the highlights over the last couple of weeks, they're the ones that are taking pot shots from 55 metres, with a quick little handball. Port are going to miss that.
Oh, it's also that run and they're the two kicks out of defence. So all of a sudden, Port haven't probably got an elite kick out of defence. So if the Cats can get enough entry and put enough pressure on Port Adelaide, I can see some more turnovers occurring because they haven't got those two to dispose of the ball. Ryan Burton's a reasonable kick, but he's not the length. He's not the length of those two.
And Zerk Thatcher's probably the other one that you can't trust.
No,
that's the when you're looking at the matchups, you go, who does that trust?
Well, suddenly they haven't got an elite kick in defence. So.
Do they get stuck into the swingman for Geelong down back? Not Guthrie. Stewart.
Yeah, I think they will.
Because they did it at Cardinia Park.
I think they'll try and play him very defensively. He may start on ball there to try and play the nuts and Drakes and then drop back. I don't think Port will let him do that. I'm sure that they'll pick him up
Somebody
as soon
will
as
be
he
tasked.
goes. So, but there will be chess moves involved. It will be interesting.
We'll talk about this match a little bit longer. The X factor for Geelong, is it still Dangerfield?
Yeah, Dangerfield, Cameron, and I look close with his speed at half forward. There's a couple there of other. Stengel has done it in September at Adelaide Oval for Woodville West Torrens. They've got enough weapons up forward to trouble the Port. It's whether they'll get enough clean midfield entry.
Okay, so let's go through each of the lines. Head to head, Port Adelaide in the back line versus Geelong in the forward line. Who do you see winning that battle?
It depends. Yeah, I always say it's a hard one because it depends how much pressure is put on the midfield. If the midfield get clean entry, well then Geelong can do that. If Port put enough pressure so they're dump kicks, well then it becomes more close it out. Look, Georgiada's probably a key for Port. And they have less. There's more questions on the Port forward line, whether Marshall plays, whether Dixon plays.
Let's talk about Marshall for a second. Do we play him? He hasn't played for a few weeks now.
Played for a while. Yeah, it'll be interesting what they do. I think they'd lost a bit of confidence within Port. Whether they go back to the tried and true Dixon, but
yeah, but the Dixon, Georgiades and Radigalia has worked.
Yeah,
and it's solved the problem down back. But then you lose Houston and Farrell, so then you've got that swingman, which is great. But I think he's going to get exposed if he does go down back.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you play Marshall up forward, who hasn't played very much this year towards the back end of the year. They throw him in, and he's not 100% cherry ripe. That's a problem too.
See what it is a worry too. How many times he's now had concussion too? I like the kid. I think he can play. A lot of Port supporters are really hard on him.
No, but his footy smart. Yeah, his leading patterns are really, really good.
Yeah, he probably just physicality at times is questionable. So therefore, that does get supporters' backs up.
Yep.
So,
and do you think that's where Georgiades has now taken over from
I don't
Marshall?
think any doubt he had.
That physicality, but also his leading patterns, and he can kick a fair roost as well.
Yeah, I just think that bit more physicality, probably a bit stronger.
Yep.
So,
so we've talked about the backs and the forwards. You think it's going to be the midfield that's going to decide this game?
Yeah, I can see. Look, I can see Sweet beating Stanley. Jordan Sweet's last few weeks have been very good.
And he's got a bit of a point to prove as well, hasn't he?
And he's doing it at the moment, well and truly. He's ticking a lot of boxes off at the moment, the Modbury High boy. So there, I think overall, and it's here. It's here. But if Geelong can put a bit of scoreboard pressure on, then it may work in Geelong's favour that it's actually here, because the Port supporters
will go ape.
Yeah, they're not known to
give a little to get a little.
Yeah, it'll be the Sack Hinkley brigade will be back and forth if they lose.
I totally agree. Does Geelong's grand final win from a couple of years ago hold them in good stead? Because there's a lot of players that have played in that final environment where they just go about their business. And Scott's got them primed. Dangerfield's a classic example. They've rested him at various times. They've just adapted his role a little bit in lead up for these finals where he can actually explode and have 3 or 4 week run.
Yeah. Scott is a good coach. Proven September coach. Proven for getting teams probably to their maximum out of them in general.
Yep. Because they are an ageing squad, and a lot of us would have predicted that they might have fell a little bit this way this year, and they haven't. So they've been able to regenerate really, really well. I know we're going to talk about it a little bit later with the Rising Star. Winner was Ollie Dempsey from Geelong. So that's a feather in his cap as well. Not only does he win the Rising Star, but he's a vital part of that back line for Geelong, isn't he?
Oh, no, plays forward as well, so it's a bit of both. I don't know, he showed a bit of character in the speech, thanking the boys who got suspended. I thought that was quite amusing. Good on him.
Seemed to be the theme of the night in the end, but absolutely. I did hear an interview, I think, with Dwayne Russell the day after, and seemed to be, head screwed on. Well, he's going to be a gun, and Geelong sort of got him for next to Nix as well, so which is fantastic. All right, let's move on with a couple of other important finals. Who's your tip, obviously, before we move on between Port and Geelong? Port for me as well, but I think it's going to be very, very tight. All right, let's move on to the second elimination final, which is probably the one that's got everybody salivating, and that's the Bulldogs v Hawthorn.
Yeah, day not coming up for Hawthorn is vital. It's a real toss the coin. It is exactly that. It is the game we're salivating about. It's quite incredible that 6v7 is considered the game of the final series.
Yep.
And that everyone thinks the winner is a big chance. So it is remarkable, which does indicate how close the competition is.
Yep. Because you think about it, right? Hawthorn are 0-5, still rebuilding, and the Bulldogs have got every problem under the sun, and Beveridge is gone, and everything's just gone completely array for the Bulldogs.
Oh, and they've just turned it around. But amazingly with Hawthorn, where they stuffed the game up here against Port, they had that game won. They stuffed it up.
Yep.
They win that game. They finished the minor round second.
Yep.
It's incredible.
Absolutely. All right. What's who's your X factor, I suppose, in this game for the Bulldogs?
I know it's predictable, but Bond's still the one.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
Do you think Ugelhagen can have a breakout, or Darcy, a combination, which has been going really well?
The weather forecast in Melbourne is actually for wet at the moment. Now, as we know, weather forecast in Melbourne don't add up, and it could change in 10 minutes, let alone a few days out.
Could be raining in the morning and bathing in sunshine in the afternoon.
Who knows? So, I'm just really looking forward to the game.
Yep. Your X factor for Hawthorn?
Ginnivan.
Yep.
I'm going to go Ginnivan
there.
Good
call.
He's polarising. I hate when he ducks his head. I hate it when he ducks. He doesn't shrug like Selwood. Huge difference.
Yep.
So he doesn't help himself there, but, geez, he can play. And the Pies missed him.
Yep.
I reckon the Pies they'd go at the moment, hey, shit, he's a better player than we gave him credit.
You've sort of led me down the garden path on that one there, that Ginnivan, for me, was also the X factor for Hawthorn on the basis that he's been to the well with Collingwood and obviously won a premiership with them, so he knows what finals is about. And if they keep that fun theme going, anything's possible. They win, lose or draw, they're actually going to come away much better team for it.
Yeah, and I'm going to go for the Dogs. Really, Day not coming up swayed my pick.
Yep.
But it's a toss of the coin. It really is.
Yep.
Who knows? Can the Hawthorn mosquito fleet inflict them, or can Norton and Ugelhagen combine and kick enough? I saw the Dogs beat Sydney there. In Sydney I was so impressed with their structure that night. But then they've been terrible here twice, which is bemusing. So, yeah.
Do you think Lobb going back has helped
that? It has.
Has helped that structure?
It's helped him so much where, again, how much easier it is to play and run straight ahead than turn. And I just don't understand why the Crows didn't do it with Himmelberg. But anyway.
We'll see how that all plays out. Anyway, so your tip there is the Bulldogs?
Yeah, I'll go the Dogs.
I'm going to go the Hawks. I think it's a flip of the coin, but for me, the way they spread the ground, that's probably the one for me. I don't know whether the Bulldogs have quite got the arsenal to be able to counteract that, especially their fast ball movement.
Probably the weather there is so crucial. So
that may be a wait until the last minute to make a decision on that one there. All right. So you're the Bulldogs, I'm Hawthorn. All right, let's move on to the first qualifying final between Sydney and GWS. We do have a little bit of flashbacks later on about a really close game that happened last year, actually. But we'll obviously talk about this game now. Sydney have been the form team all year and fallen away towards the end of the season. Does the week off now just give them a chance to get a few back and
theoretically, they're actually not going to have one player out. They're going to have their total 23 available. Papley, Melican, Heaney, and one other comes back in. So, which is just ridiculous to have your whole 20, not one injury now. Imagine you got offered that for the start of the year. So that's quite incredible. GWS, they haven't been probably as fluent as past years. They're probably more actually scrapped and got some wins through sheer hard work this year compared to, their flashes of brilliance in the past, which I like more. But I think there's a few question marks on GWS as well.
They've still got the talent, though. There's
no doubt about that.
These two teams have got talent to burn. We sort of did hint, I'm sure it didn't happen this way, but we did sort of hint that GWS would have preferred to have played Sydney in Sydney. The SCG holds no fear for them.
No.
So where does it get won? Again, like most, in the midfield is probably going to be the big battle.
Yeah, I reckon Papley's vital back for Sydney. I think they've really missed him.
From an Energizer Bunny point of view?
Yeah, and just the forward pressure as well. Not only his goal-scoring ability, but his run and pressure act, I think they've missed.
Do you take him at 80% if he's 80% fit?
Well, I reckon he's actually fully trained the last 3 sessions.
But hypothetically, if they're playing Ducks and Drakes there with that, but if he's hypothetically 80%, do you take that into a final?
Yeah, no, he'll play. He'll play.
Oh, I know he'll play. I'm just saying, do you take that risk as
Yes.
in, like,
Yes.
we're playing him
Yep.
if he's 80% or better?
Yeah.
If he's 100%, then look out. Who's your X factor for Sydney, mate?
Papley.
Papley.
Yep.
And who's your X factor for GWS?
Toby. And Toby's due to really probably due to dominate a game.
Yep.
Yeah, probably hasn't really won games this year. And, geez, wouldn't he love to shove it up Sydney as well?
Well,
So,
and he's done that quite well. And
Yeah.
in our flashbacks, he's the one that kicks the score to get them in front. For me, the Coleman medalist from GWS is probably a bit of an X factor there. They do tend to direct a lot of traffic through him.
yeah, it's an interesting one. That is, McCartan's a really good matchup for him. And the 2 games GWS has played this year, he's kicked 1 and 2. So, yeah, they need him to dominate September.
Yep.
If GWS are going to go the whole way,
Yep.
it'll be inspired by Hogan. Now, he's got to beat McCartan and beat him convincingly. He hasn't done that yet. So,
Yep. Well, the jury's out on that one. And reputations are made in September all the time. Daniel's coming back in for GWS. Do you think that's a vital
it is.
for speed
Huge.
and agility?
It cancels Papley out, really, very much for the same role.
Yep.
So,
All right, so who are you picking, mate?
I'm going to go for Sydney. I'm going to go for Tom Harley and Andrew Pridham.
Mate, I have to probably go for Sydney as well, but I reckon it's going to be, again, tight. All right, let's move on to the last final, which is the elimination final between Brisbane and Carlton. Who would have thought 4 weeks ago that these two teams would be playing in an elimination final and not a qualifying final?
Yeah, ironically, Brisbane had the poor start to the year and then really stuffed it up themselves. They managed to grab defeat against Collingwood when they had the game on ice. So, yeah, they threw a top 4 spot away.
Mm-hmm.
That still may prove to be crucial,
Yep. Well, their poor kicking is something that's cost them pretty much all right from the get-go this year. We've talked about quicksand with a few teams here. I think Brisbane are in that quicksand that as soon as they start missing a couple, it seems to be contagious.
Yeah.
What do you think about Joey Danaher? He's one player that I think's got to step up and make his reputation in September this year.
Well, and you just don't know. Like, you might have him and Hipwood kick 2 goals 10 between them, or 10 goals 2. You literally don't know, and you don't know by the week.
Yep.
It's not like they might have done it 3 weeks in a row, but you still can't bank on either of them.
Yep.
With consistency.
Charlie Cameron's probably, for me, the X factor a little bit with Neil. I'm tossing up between those two, but I think Charlie's been there enough now, and he just loves these type of environments, and Carlton are going to need to be on their ball with him, because if he gets out the back, forget about it.
And Carlton have pulled the dice. They've declared that Doherty's going to play.
Yep.
Huge move, but he does have a great record first up. I think Voss has gone, hey, well, shit, we need his leadership in the next month too. Even if we manage to get this one up, to actually get over the line, we need this guy directing.
Yep.
He's probably seen that as a bit of a weakness.
Is this a boost for Carlton, like a intangible boost for them? You know, you're looking for those little 1%ers that can just help you.
It's pretty obviously someone that guys love playing with. So it's just, he's probably just going to have a bit. You can imagine he does something, even a smother or a knock out of bounds.
Everybody's
early,
getting around him.
calm, and so I like that.
Yep.
And Carlton will have reasonable support there. They've travelled. You think early in the year, the Blues Brothers.
Yes.
Early in the year, so
round 1, I think that was.
Yeah, so they'll have reasonable support. As well.
Yep. Do you give Carlton a chance?
Outside chance. Brisbane have got to be favourites, but an outside chance.
Home ground advantage probably sways you a little bit that way.
It does, but Brisbane have been flaky this year, a few games as well. So I'll tip Brisbane, but
which Brisbane turns up.
And you do wonder on Curno's fitness, and he might be cherry ripe and due, because he had an average final series last year, and so who knows?
Well, we talk about making reputations
September.
Made in September. That could be one there. So you're going Brisbane, mate. I have to go Carlton, but I think it's going to be Brisbane advantage being the home ground there. Your X factor probably for.
I'm going to go Doherty. I think he's inspiration.
Yep. And that's going to be huge.
And I'll go Cameron for Brisbane.
Absolutely, and I'm in the same boat there. I think Paddy Cripps probably a little bit for Carlton as well. I think he's chomping at the bit to prove a point. in September. So
Well, you could see a bit of his frustration that St Kilda game. Like, he did everything but, and you could see, well, come on, you pricks, jump aboard.
Yep.
I can't do any more here.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Him and Walsh in the middle, that's probably where
Walsh
it's
has been down a bit. He's probably,
Mhm.
probably not impacting as much.
But maybe he's due.
Yeah. So,
They've had a week off to rest,
Yes.
so we'll see how we go. All right, let's move on to some hot topics, mate. First on the hot topics is Adelaide. A couple of signings, Walker and Berry, and Thilthorpe, obviously, late yesterday.
Yeah.
And it looks like Alex Neil-Bullen has officially requested Adelaide to be his club of choice. Some key signings there. We've talked about Walker being probably very, very important from the point of view that he's the man directing traffic just for one more year with these young guys.
Well, I think the showdown effectively got him another year because they were without a rudder and without leadership, and they lost the plot that night. I just wonder if Walker had been out there and if he'd been the calm, rational one. So you don't know, but geez, they missed him that night.
Yep.
At the end of that game, I thought, shit, he's got to get another year.
Yep. I know it's early, but how much do we see him playing next year? Is it a 50-50?
Too early.
Yep.
Too early. Way too early.
I mean,
depends on his body. He obviously carried the back the whole year. Who's to know? He may actually be better, Nick. You just don't know.
Yep.
So,
Yep. No, that's fair enough. And Berry, your thoughts on Berry? He had a pretty good end of the year.
Yeah.
I know that the contract stuff was put off in the background, but sometimes diamonds are made when it's under pressure.
Probably his last 4 or 5 weeks got him over the line in that regard.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And what about some uncontracted players? Obviously, Ned McHenry, Burgess, Himmelberg, I think, is in that.
I'm not sure on Burgess. I thought he had 2.
You might be right.
I'm not sure. Oh, look, this thing's like, apparently Murphy's got another year. I can't believe it.
So the trigger's being.
Yeah, apparently.
But if they get Alex Neil-Bullen, you can't see him.
No, surely therefore he'd
be in that forward line.
Make him captain of the SNFL side.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do we see Josh Rochelle coming back? I know this is too early to see, but do you see him coming back going, all right, I need to knuckle down here and head down, bum up, and let's go?
Yeah, look, you start next season with a clean slate.
Yep.
He's got to be harder at the ball and body, and he's got to commit to the team ethos.
Yep.
Ability's not the question.
Yep. So obviously, Alex Neil-Bullen has nominated the Crows. Jack Lukosius, where do you see him being at the moment? Because we haven't really seen too much. And I have had a little bit of a look at draft picks that are available. Port don't have a whole lot this year. They're actually down to 2 picks.
Unless Houston does go. And now he's saying at the moment he's staying well. Yeah, look, I while you've got to take that at face value, I do think this time of the year Port's in. Well, he's not going to say, no, I'm definitely going and for all that publicity. So
because he's still training with that final squad, so he's still involved.
Yeah, of course he is.
If he says I'm out, well, then they're going to say bugger off, and it's not good for the group.
No, so no, I think he's, But remember, I did think when it happened that I reckon that this might sway him to stay. So
yep, it was a good call actually.
So we'll wait and see. But
so Lukosius then.
Yeah, I still wouldn't be surprised if there's interest. I think Victorian clubs will still get involved yet. I don't think that's over the line well and truly yet.
So you're saying specifically involved for him, or in a sort of a 3-way deal to get things moving?
I just don't know. He may pick a Victorian club yet. Who's to say Collingwood or St Kilda or Carlton don't make a bid for him and he decide, right, I'll go to the home of footy.
Fair enough. All right. Well, talking about trades, the silly season has begun. Trades coming from all angles. Adelaide will play a big part this year. They've flagged it pretty early. Why would you give away your game plan, I suppose, right from the get-go? Or is it a case of everybody knows?
Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal because so what if you say you don't and you say you are and then you decide, no, we don't want that one, big deal. I think there's so much cloak and dagger and things happen behind the scenes anyway, and there's quite often the player comes out late on the last day, hasn't been mentioned in the club. So
it's been done.
I take it all with a grain of salt.
Having a bit of a look at what draft picks are there, they obviously added the little bit on the end there about points. Adelaide have got some fair points to play with, and so did Gold Coast. That's what's scary about it.
And Richmond.
Yeah. And Richmond are going to end up having, 5 out of the top 25 picks or something.
It'll probably end up more than that, actually. Once Rioli, Baker, and
Bolton
get traded.
Yep.
So suddenly they might have 8. So they're deciding, right, we're going to go to the draft and have a real crack before Tasmania gets in.
Right, so they're not going to on-forward those picks to try and get a couple of senior players?
No, I don't think so.
Hard reset?
I think it's a hard reset.
Yep.
So
going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. Obviously, week 1 of the finals begins this week here. Finally good to get back into it after having a week off.
Yep.
I don't know about you, but it was a little bit weird at times, not having that football there. Just last one on some trading there. Jakey Stringer might be on the move. Sydney might be the preferred destination.
Yeah, I'll still take that with a train of salt. Who's saying that's not manager, still trying to shop.
I think he's looking
for... trying to barter. He's trying to get the 2
years,
instead of 1. I still reckon he'll end up staying at Essendon.
Yep. Isaac Cumming, GWS to the Crows.
Chance. They do rate him highly. Questions on his body.
Well, that was what I was going to ask because, again, Adelaide have been very good at getting good football players without having some X factor there.
And he has got that. And he's a good kick, which they lack. They do lack really good, long, accurate kicks.
Yep.
So it's a weakness on their list, especially with Smith fading away. Like, you can't just play him.
And you haven't had
Malira. Terrible at everything else.
You haven't had Malira either because he's been injured pretty much for the last 2.5 years out of the last 3.
Exactly.
That's going to be an interesting one there. And Bailey Smith, do you think he's going to get to Geelong? It seems to be that's done and dusted.
Yeah. Well, he's certainly not staying at Western Bulldogs. So
absolutely. All right, mate. Let's whiz through the AFLW tips very, very quickly. We won't worry about the results, but Port Adelaide playing Western Bulldogs at the MCG as a curtain raiser.
Yeah, I'll go Port. Western Bulldogs have really fallen away the last couple of years from being one of the standout teams for a fair while. They're struggling.
Yep.
So I'll go Port.
I'm going to go Port as well. I think they're due. And I actually thought they were okay against Adelaide last week. So Melbourne v the Brisbane Lions.
Yeah, I'll go Melbourne. Seeing it's in Melbourne.
It is at Casey Fields. Yep.
Yeah. If in doubt, I'll go the D's.
Brisbane were a little bit shell-shocked last week. North Melbourne got a hold of them. So I'm going to go Melbourne there as well. The Eagles v Essendon.
Essendon with a couple of very crucial injuries. I'll go the Eagles.
The Eagles for me. Daisy's going to be 2 from 2, I think.
Yes.
A couple of nice games at home there. Collingwood v the Hawks. Now, isn't it infectious how the men's team's playing? Because the women showed a little bit of attitude there.
Yeah.
On what was it, Saturday afternoon or Saturday night or Sunday?
She was lucky to only get 3.
Well, that's the Collingwood player you're talking about there. Yeah. I think they're going to appeal that.
So anyway, I'll go the Pies. Toss the coin.
I'm going to go the Hawks. I think they got some X factor about them, a bit like the men's team. So Richmond v the Giants.
I'll go the Giants.
Suns v the Blues. Great Barrier Reef Arena.
Oh,
up in Mackay.
Oh, well.
Great holiday spot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd rather be doing that. I'd rather be going fishing up there.
Yep.
I'll go the Blues then.
North Melbourne v Geelong.
North Melbourne.
Now, just talking about Geelong, once again, handing the ball back to a player instead of the umpire cost Melbourne potentially a win there. Players won't learn, and that was going to lead me on to my next point is the bump of the Collingwood player on the
it's pretty reckless.
It was.
Yeah, it was pretty dangerous.
Yep.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yep.
St Kilda v the Swans.
St Kilda.
At RSEA Park.
Although St Kilda, Sydney were very good last week, so that's probably the game of the round.
Yep. And Fremantle v Adelaide at Fremantle Oval.
Yeah, I'll go parochial. I'll go Adelaide.
Absolutely. All right, mate. Coming up after the break, we've got Glenelg mauling the Eagles in the SANFL Finals. And Centrals, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, stunning Sturt. We're going to have a look at the Premier Cricket here in Adelaide. And to finish us off, we're going to have a look at some retiring legends.
We'll be right back after this short break.
Looking to buy or sell your home anywhere in Adelaide? from the hills to the sea? Meet Gary Creeves, your dedicated local agent from Owens Casserly Real Estate. With unparalleled knowledge of Adelaide's housing market and a commitment to exceptional service, Gary ensures a smooth and stress-free experience for all your real estate needs. Trust the expert, trust Gary Creeves at Owens Casserly Real Estate. Your next dream home awaits. Contact Gary today on 0422 071 317 or on email garyk@ocre.com.au. And for more listings, please visit owenscasserly.com.au. Make it happen. All right, we thank our sponsors as per usual, but let's continue on with Around the Grounds, mate. SANFL, first round of the finals review. Centrals came from behind to stun Sturt. You were at that game. Game report, mate. I did see some of the highlights.
Oh, look, Centrals just kept at it. It was a game of chess. It was pretty defensive by both sides. And as I've said earlier, I've got no problem with Centrals with that, but I do have a problem with Sturt with their ability in that side should be taking the game on more and trying to score more. And
is that a small change Marty Mattner can make?
I think he has to. It's, to my mind, they didn't try and isolate Josh O'Hone and get him running back enough. And I just thought him and Matthews could have been used more. Slimming was good for Sturt, but I still think he could have been used more to run and carry. I just thought they just didn't take enough risks.
Yep.
Especially after half-time. Look, they looked the better side. At half-time when you thought, right, Sturt will win this by 6. But you're thinking, bizarrely, Central's only kicked 1 goal to half-time, but are still sort of in it on the scoreboard. And I thought they had to, because the Central's game plan to kick down the line, force the contest, out of bounds, not a problem with that, but I thought they had to pull the dice a bit earlier, and I might have made my thoughts
known to the coach.
And he didn't say anything, but I reckon he was thinking, not yet.
Yep.
And he won the battle of chess.
So do you think there was a preconceived plan a little bit?
No doubt about that whatsoever. Central are pretty structured, but he gives, in terms of Grace, Aiden Grace and Isaac Dudley, gives them a bit more freedom. They've got the flair. Look, Aiden Grace would be frustrating. He gave away some dumb free kicks. But then he kicks the goal with a snap from the boundary line. Then he dropped the chess mark, which would have put Centrals in front. You think at the time, has he done the Herschel Gibbs and dropped the World Cup?
Yep.
But then Dudley kicked the good goal, and he'd done a bit more after halftime as well. And Grace hadn't done anything. Kicks 3 in a low scoring game. So hats off to thing. As I mentioned earlier, the couple. I was impressed with Dyson Sharp. He ended up having their most touches. Cade Dittmar was also pretty important. Billy Isles, Rhett Montgomery. So they had a few contributors, but they were probably just in and bash, forced the contest more. And I thought, Sturt, you've got to get it on the outside a bit more than you
play to the strength
a bit more, and they didn't. So, they've now got a cutthroat first semi where Glenelg's offense is good enough to win the game.
Yep.
But Woodville West Torrens, they were terrible.
We'll talk about that in a minute. Were you surprised with Sturt and Centrals there? We did say Centrals get a bit of a free hit here, but were you surprised that Centrals only kicked 8 goals and Sturt only kicked 5 on such a reasonable day here in Adelaide?
Yeah,
weather-wise,
it was blustery, and wind is very crucial in that regard.
Yep.
I was just disappointed that Sturt didn't get the ball more on the outside in terms of watching the game. I'm sitting, and I thought
that's where Sturt's strength's been for pretty much for most of the year, hasn't it?
Structurally, in the last 15 minutes were terrible.
Yep.
They did just get it. When they did get it, they just bombed it long instead of looking and lowering the eyes. And I didn't think they once attempted to get Hone behind because he was standing a much taller opponent.
Yep.
Who he was beating him for pace. Well, let's try and get a couple of goals out of as well. I just thought they were too negative.
Fair enough.
They got what they deserved in the end.
Well, yeah, and sometimes the footy gods can smile on you, or they can.
They did miss some goals. Kept Centrals just theoretically in it.
Yep.
And then the Dogs came through.
Absolutely. And like I was saying,
Bang!
sometimes the footy gods can smile on you and sometimes they can kick you in the bum. And on this occasion, Sturt got a fair old kick, which now puts them into a final against Glenelg. And Glenelg were impressive and did what they needed to do against lacklustre Woodville West Torrens,
I was really disappointed in Woodville West Torrens. Like, I've got no problem with losing, but at least go down with a crack.
But their last 6 weeks have been
shocking.
diabolical, haven't they?
But there was just a lack of physical intensity, a lack of pressure on the ball carrier. And Glenelg really did what they pleased. And, yeah, they were just way too good. And while, yes, they've got more ability, I just thought overall, you know...
Well, Hosey might be back for Glenelg. I did read something that they're going to give him every chance to get up. Do you think he might be a little bit of X factor for Glenelg?
Oh, he does. He is an X factor. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, it's what have they got? 7 players with 20 plus, which does indicate even just that purely on paper was just a lack of pressure. Put on overall.
And they share it around pretty well too. That's what makes them pretty unpredictable. Could we have seen at the beginning of this final series that Sturt and Glenelg would be playing off in a first semi?
No, I didn't see that at all.
No. Glenelg, Sturt have been the form team for the last 13 weeks. Did they get ahead of themselves a little bit potentially?
Yeah, I'm not sure ahead. I just thought they just broke down. I thought they panicked. They really panicked. For a team who'd won 13 games in a row, where's the relaxed and belief in themselves? And they had there's some ugly wins amongst that 13. And yet it seemed to disappear on Saturday. Look, Luke Reynolds for me is the crucial player in this game. He kicked 3 again on the weekend. And he had the 15 touches, but they're 15 clean touches. Like without having... doesn't tell you in terms of, I'd love to know what his score involvement was as well out of those 15 touches.
Cole Gerloff, again, another player that's very important for them.
22.
But his delivery, though,
he was good.
That's the key. But when you're not under pressure from your opposition, it makes it a lot easier to make him look 10 times better than what the stats say.
Always hard seeing a red leg at another.
Yes.
An ex-red leg at another club. At least his parents have bought a copy of my book, though.
Absolutely.
So that's fine.
It's a win-win for everybody there. All right, mate. Well, we've got to talk about it. Who's your tip for Sturt and Glenelg this weekend in the first semi?
I'm going to go for Sturt to rebound. I just think they can put enough pressure on Glenelg. But I think Glenelg the most offensive side of the 4 sides left. They could kick a winning score well and truly, but
Sturt are probably the better defensive side out of the 4 that are left.
They are.
And obviously we're going to talk about Nord and Centrals in a minute, but Nord are probably balanced.
Yeah, Nord are a bit of both.
And Centrals are probably a little bit more on the defensive side of things. So you've got an attacking forward line of Glenelg and a defensive unit of Sturt.
I just think
it's going to be interesting.
I think Sturt can put enough defensive pressure on the ball carrier. This will be a contest. It wasn't a contest last week. So
weather's looking okay at this stage.
Yeah,
so we're going to get a dry double header, it looks like. So it'll be interesting to see how many goals are scored. All right, mate, we better move on to the big one here. The second semi-final, Nord v Centrals. Centrals have got, again, a bit of a free hit.
Yeah, it is. Very much so. Look, if Nord play at their best is better than Central's best. But Central's all over crack. If Nord are complacent or kick 5 goals 18, that's Central's big chance. But
do you see Nord picking them apart a little bit better than what maybe Sturt were trying to do?
Yeah, and I can see Boyd obviously winning in ruck. Again, Boyd's been ridiculous. The 2 games Nord have played Centrals, he's been best on ground by that far, the length of the straight.
Question without notice, do we see him potentially ranking pretty well for the McGarry?
Oh, he should. Look, I couldn't believe...
Because I know ruckmen don't necessarily get the kudos.
Yeah, but he's just dominated games. Look, I've got to have a crack at the Sandford Now award, and you might have shown a few of the commentators up there with a bit of a lack of nous in terms of... He polled 23 votes on that. I watched Nord enough this year, and he should have polled 35. He's just absolutely obliterated games. He's dominated games like, I haven't seen a ruckman.
Yeah, and the game's
since a Davies or a Carey, he's, Button at their top. but he's just done it consistently.
Yeah. Well, the games that I've attended this year, he just looks that
Oh,
2 or 3 inches taller and 2 or 3 stronger and just seems to be everywhere too. That's the other thing about him.
His credit, his work ethic is ridiculous.
Yep.
You know, like I said to him after the game, the last minor round game, there it is, North have won the game. North are having a shot after the siren. He's past centre at the Roger Woodcock end. He is running back to get back to try and make sure he touches the ball.
Yep.
Ironically, the North goal was 10 yards short of making the distance. And I said to him after the game, I love you, mate. You're a bloody lunatic, but I love you. He said, hey, percentage could decide this, Malcolm.
Yep.
So that's how switched on he is.
Yep.
And he'll be switched on Sunday.
Absolutely. Can't wait to watch that one there. There's no point in asking you tip, mate, because I know who you are going to tip. Yeah. But do we give Centrals a chance?
They will keep at it.
Yep.
Now, full credit the Dogs. As I said, I've probably been more praising of the Dogs than anyone this week.
Yep.
And, yeah, I give them a chance purely because they'll be hard physically.
Yep.
But Nord's extra class should get them up.
Yep. I'm in the same boat. I give Centrals every chance, but obviously we want Nord to get over the line there. All right, mate, let's move on to the Saka. Round 1 of the one-day cup.
Yes.
It's already coming upon us, starting on the 12th of October. We're going to give a little bit of a preview now and talk about it, but we'll cover it in a bit more depth later, with some players and some teams.
Yeah, I haven't done enough of that yet.
No, but I've got the fixture here, and we'll just talk about it and see what you think. Port Adelaide v Tea Tree Gully.
Port Adelaide reigning premiers in the 2-day comp last year.
Yep.
Just be interested to know who's playing with Tea Tree Gully. I wonder if Travis is even if he's around. You're not sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go Port Adelaide purely because where they're coming from.
Yep, and we'll follow this up, obviously, as it gets a little bit closer. Northern versus Kensington.
Yeah, Northerns have lost a few. Kenzie picked up a couple. I'll go the Browns to rebound a bit there.
I'll go the Browns there as well. Woodville v Adelaide Uni.
Yeah, Uni made the 4 last year in the 2-day comp. Probably a little disappointing in the 1-days in the comp, but
it's a new season.
Yeah, I'll go for Sam Kerber and the Blacks there.
Yep, and to finish us off, round 1, Eastern is it East Torrens?
Yep.
V Adelaide.
Yes, that is East Torrens.
Yep.
Yeah, probably East Torrens. Toss the coin, I'll go East Torrens.
Yep. Is it usual that 3 out of the 4 games there are being played at Park 25
yes.
and number 1, 2 and 3?
Yeah, at this time of the year because they can get the wickets up.
Right.
Yeah.
And is it because, again, I'm coming at this totally brand new this year as far as the Premier League cricket goes. Is it a case of that some of those ovals are still being used for football at the moment, and finals and bits and pieces like that?
Yeah, a bit of that, but also just pure wear and tear, where they're not getting that wear and tear down there, and they generally at Karen Rolton and then the grounds behind.
Yes. Yeah, no, I've been down there. They look fantastic. The curators.
Trent Kelly does a fantastic job down there. And the boys there, I'll back them to get them up.
Absolutely.
Be away.
I look at that as a bit of practice for the Adelaide Oval. Those guys, the curators, get out there and have a good crack at it. Looks fantastic.
They interact. Hoffy still gets involved.
Yeah, it looks fantastic down there. They're in fantastic nick, that's for sure. All right, we'll talk about round 2 next week. We'll follow that one through as well. And we'll do absolutely. You and me both leading into the season. All right, let's talk about some retiring legends of the class of 2024. We'll start off with Chad Wingard for Port Adelaide and Hawthorn.
Look, good player, but
he burst onto the scene, was fantastic, and then it's sort of gone.
Plateaued a bit. Probably you're going at the end, good player, but geez, maybe he could have been, a great.
Were you surprised that Port let him go in the end?
Not with what they were offered for him and where it's got him. They got Rosie and that out of that. They knew what they were doing.
Yep.
So I think they were the winner out of that one.
Yep.
So look, silky, smooth, all the skills. Interestingly enough,
mercurial at times.
Yeah, he wasn't a footy head, and I reckon that might have hurt him a bit.
Yep.
And there were times I just think he probably didn't pick the right move, and So.
Fair enough. All right, Nathan Murphy from Collingwood again. Concussion seems to be the overriding factor here with a few players?
I think in the end people realised it's funny how some players get appreciated more when they're not out there. Suddenly, how much in terms of Darcy Moore struggled without having him there to pick up the main player, and I can zone off more and do my thing and just attack. Murphy was the glue which held that defence together, and I think he was absolutely crucial.
Yep. 24 years old, confirming in April that he'd suffered excessive head trauma through his 57-game career.
Yeah.
That's probably the most concerning stat for me there, 57 games.
Yeah, he got concussed quite a few times. And so not that far apart and just bang. Yeah.
We've seen that with a few players now that they tend to get those successive concussions, if that makes sense, over a few weeks, and it doesn't help them in the long run, does it? No. And to finish us off, Marlon Pickett, plucked from obscurity, plays a grand final. In his second game of AFL football?
Look, and there's
somewhere in there.
Bit of irony that was the mid-season draft, and I'd actually arranged to catch up. I was over there. That's when I was still with the SDA and over in Melbourne with work, and I was going to catch up with Barmy that night. Rings me, no, you're a nice and unlucky mid-season draft, but I'll come and catch up with you afterwards.
Yes.
And I'm going, bloody mid-season draft. I hate it as an SNFL person.
Barmy's licking his lips.
Oh, Barmy was going, but you've got to consider the player as well. It is a job promotion effectively, you know, et cetera. And I get that and all that, but I'm still against it.
Yep.
But he was very no, Pickett, we've committed to him for a couple of years. Doesn't matter if he doesn't play this year. We're there for him, and also a little bit that they'd committed to he did have off-field question marks.
Yep.
Unfortunately, he's still got off-field question marks now.
Yep.
We'll let that play out.
Yep.
Won't comment on that anymore. But look, hey, mate, your debut
in
a grand final.
After playing in the Tigers' 2019 VFL Premiership, Pickett was called upon 1 week later to make his AFL debut. I thought it was his second game, but it was his second game, but it was actually one in the reserves and one in the league.
Yeah, it was his debut.
Reminds me of Aaron Keating.
Yeah,
He's got a little bit of that.
Yeah,
plucked from obscurity and plays in a grand final for the local league, and then ends up playing in a grand final for the AFL.
Don't know if Marlon would have led the off-field stuff as much as Keats did.
No, fair enough. He became the first VFL player in 67 years to debut in an AFL grand final, which is just unbelievable, and the first since 1926 to actually win a flag. So it is a Cinderella story, but there are obviously some other things at play there. Excellent. All right, mate, let's get into what do we got here? Coming up on Friday, we got Wayne Wiedemann Part 2.
Yep, thanks to the weed.
Absolutely.
It was fantastic. Thank you.
And Robbie Neal.
Yep.
The real Robbie Neal.
No,
not the real Robbie Neal. Monday.
Come on. No need for that talk.
You're listening to the Game On Podcast. We'll be right back after this short break.
Are dents and scratches putting a dent in your day? Introducing Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide, your trusted solution for automotive woes. With over 2 decades of expertise, Roger Steen Crash Repairs guarantees top-notch service, restoring your vehicle to its former glory in no time. From minor dings to major collisions, our skilled technicians handle it all with precision and care, using state-of-the-art equipment and techniques.
Roger Steen Crash Repairs saved my car. It looks brand new.
Fast, friendly and reliable. I wouldn't trust anyone else with my vehicle. Don't let accidents slow you down. Visit Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide at 14 Penner Avenue, Glynde, for quality service you can count on. And here's a special offer just for our listeners. Mention this podcast and receive a $100 discount on your repair. Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide. Excellence in every repair.
Yep. Thank you to Craig and Roger Steen. Greatly appreciated.
Flashbacks.
All right, to kick us off this week in the flashbacks, we're going to talk, obviously, a classic match between GWS and the Sydney Swans. Classic derby with a brilliant snapped right foot goal in the final minute. Greater Western Sydney superstar captain has piloted his team to a remarkable come-from-behind win over crosstown rival Sydney at the SCG. It's an absolute classic game, mate.
Yeah, it was. It was incredible comeback, and yeah, they just came from the clouds.
Absolutely. All right, sit back and enjoy the last couple of minutes.
Himmelberg takes out of the air. Did he throw it away? Did he drop it then? Toby Green, he bends it. Did he get enough on it? He did. The Green machine has done it again. Back from the dead.
That ball going out of bounds allowed Toby's to get down there, and if there's one man who can sniff out the ball at this situation, it's Toby Green. His game knowledge, his understanding of the sport is just off the charts. It's the drop to the ground snap that he gets away with it.
But he tries to block first, and that's how he loses his direct opponent. And opponent goes one side, he goes the other side of the contest, finds the space required, snaps truly.
6 and 6, so they have to reset. Can't put people behind the ball. Seconds tick. Can we get the finish to beat all finishes here? The big mark to Whitfield. 30 seconds left. He'll get 5 or 6 seconds to use it, and then he'll have to go. Told to go. Sends it out wide. Can he find a mark? Flynn's out there. They rise. Ball in. Time enough.
They're going to be a 3%er. It's yes. Unbelievable to think that this could happen.
Deja vu all over again. If they can't steal it back here, the Swans. Laddams, Flynn from the palm down. Warner tracks it, hands it up. Mills, touch play on. Whitfield caught, got it off just in time. The feed wide to Haynes. Down to 8 seconds and counting. He barrels it away. Parker flies. Siren sounds. The big steal. They kick the last 4 goals of the game, the Giants. All games are equal.
In an enthralling Sydney derby, the Giants trailed by 24 points early in the final quarter, and then kicked the final 4 goals to win the game, 107-106. Toby Green, we've talked about it earlier. He is the X factor when it comes to these Sydney derbies, but when it comes to finals, he's even better again.
Oh, I thought Dermy nailed it then, just with his footy nous and his body positioning. It was very good commentary, which doesn't grow on trees on something.
No, that's exactly right. For the most of the day, Sydney were the master of the contest until suddenly it wasn't. Sydney slaughtered the Giants at the centre clearance, 22-9. Do we see that happening this week? Because Grundy now adds another element to that, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. But then Tom Green with his body strength in there as well. You know, Kelly's fitness, how he comes up. So there's a few question marks there as well.
Absolutely. We've talked about Green being the match winner here. Coming from a stoppage there, he's going to be vital to them. So, all right, let's get into the extra time big finish, mate.
Extra time big finish.
All right, this could have probably led us today is that the tennis at the US Open, the Australians actually outperformed, and it was almost a home away from home.
Yeah, I did jump aboard the Poppy train, but unfortunately managed yesterday. It was game of inches, 3 out of 5, break points his opponent. He had 3 out of 9. He only 3 less points for the game.
Yep.
So it was very much a fine line between pleasure and pain.
The crowd wasn't too forgiving, unfortunately, for any unforced errors or double faults, which you don't generally see at the tennis.
US Open can be rowdy. Yeah.
It is a different tournament, a bit like here in Australia. There's different segments of the crowd that obviously are supporting their countrymen. So it was very interesting to hear some of that booing or clapping when he's made some double faults there.
Tifio, however you pronounce if that's on the correct
TFO.
either way. But yeah, it was very much a fine line. And unfortunately, Poppy didn't come through. So we're now aboard the Dimonor train.
Absolutely. Obviously, just talking local players here. Lee Tu obviously qualified for the Australian Open. For the US Open. He then gets drawn out, Carlos Alcaraz in round one. I did actually watch a fair chunk of that match there, and I thought he held his own. And Alcaraz, again, I know that winning the Olympics may have taken a little bit out of him, but I thought Lee Tu exposed a few things that he can be pretty proud of, that he played pretty well.
Yeah, so he's around the mark, isn't he, Alcatraz? So, yeah, Lee Tu was a bit of promise there. But, yeah, it's been a very good tournament. Jordan Thompson getting through to the fourth round. Well, he's had a fantastic tournament.
He plays Dimonor tonight or tomorrow.
No. Sorry. Dimonor's already beaten.
That's correct. Sorry, my apologies there. Yeah. Kokkinakis with the big shock in the first round, beating Tsitsipas.
Yeah, and then he fell away, unfortunately, in the second. Yeah, so
he has a habit
great wins. Yes.
He has a habit of doing it.
Yeah.
He's had, like you were just about to say there, he's had some great wins, but it's backing it up is probably the key here.
So Dimonor plays Draper in the quarters. You know,
he's a big chance.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, so hopefully could get through to his first semi.
Yep.
I don't think he's made a semi. But
not at the US Open, I don't believe. Yeah. But another feather in his cap, he's one of only 4 players or 5 players that have made it through to a quarterfinal in 2024 in all the four majors.
He's certainly stabilising and well and true. You know, this will probably get him a couple more spots up the rankings. So,
were you surprised that he come back from injury so well?
Yes, because that was a big injury.
That was my big question mark.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it was really disappointing he had to forfeit at Wimbledon, and we knew that was going to happen. So,
the last point gave that away.
Yeah. So, look. All the best to him in the quarters.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to soccer, mate. Adelaide United make it through to the quarterfinals in the Australia Cup, winning 3-2 against Olympic Kingsway. They now take on the Western Sydney Wanderers.
Yeah, I did watch the highlights of that game, and Adelaide United had a fair bit of luck. They weren't kissed on the proverbial the opposition. They were very unlucky. A couple just missed, and Adelaide were lucky to get out of that. But sometimes they're still in the comp. Yep.
Sometimes you've got to ground out those games.
Exactly.
I haven't had a chance to check on our old mates that qualified against that won against Sydney there, but we'll follow that one up. EPL, mate, QPR on the board.
Yeah, the R's. I don't know why Emma complained at 5:15 when QPR scored their second goal on Saturday morning. Yeah, bemusing that she was upset with the noise in the Ashwood household.
Saturday morning, mate. It's all right.
Yeah, time to get up. 2 goals in 3 minutes. Fire up.
Absolutely. And I think Chelsea have done all right there just recently as well. All right, let's move on. There's a couple of questions to finish us off today, mate. The Wild game, if it was played this year, the 4 teams that would have been playing, obviously, Collingwood, Fremantle, Western Bulldogs and Hawthorn.
Yeah.
Carlton.
Yeah, look, I think it's again. I'm actually bemused because the word is it was in. In fact, it was in.
Yep.
I can't say who I was sitting next to. That
under good authority.
It was in.
Yep.
And now the word is no, it's not going to be in because there's been so much criticism that it won't come in next year, which has got me beat. Because I would have thought overall, in such an even comp, and considering the fixture plays such a vital role, I'm in favour of it personally. So, yeah.
Well, 1, it gets rid of the bye week, but 2, if you qualify high enough to finish those top 6, you should get the week off.
Yeah, I've got no problem with that. So then out of that, it gives you that footy in that week and that. And I just think the 10th team may have had to play the top 2 teams twice each.
Yep.
And the 8th team hasn't.
Yep.
So this year, if you'd got Richmond and North Melbourne twice, and you'd got Port and Sydney twice, it's a huge difference. So I'm in favour of it.
Yep, me too. Yeah. I'm certainly there for it as well. I hope they do bring it in. I hope there's a reconsideration on that anyway. We could have talked about this a little bit earlier. Were you surprised that the playing fixture on Thursday night was considered, considering the last 5 or 6 rounds, the Thursday nights were scrapped?
Yeah, it was a bit hard to work out. The word is next year it's in. So, yeah, it was a bit, So, anyway.
You were surprised, though, that they fixtured it? I know we're dying for football, and by the time Thursday rolls around, we'll be salivating that there's going to be a game.
I thought there'd be games on Thursday night.
Right,
Yeah.
but you're surprised that the normal round, home and away rounds, they stopped the Thursday night fixtures with 6 rounds to go?
Yeah, I think they sort of went school holiday, but the word is next year that it'll continue.
Yep, which is be great. And my last one, mate, this is probably the most controversial one. Breaking news once again. Would Choco coach the Crows if an offer was to put to him, potentially if he doesn't go for the West Coast job and Matty Nix doesn't have a great year next year?
I think he would. Yeah, I still think there's the burning desire. Only Mark can answer that. But he's loved his spot at Richmond, at Melbourne, and I watched him last year, and he actually set most of the drills up when Melbourne trained here, and he's like a little kid in a candy store, and the pressure's not on you. Like, imagine, I wouldn't want to be coaching Melbourne at the moment.
Yep.
And he can sit in the background, the less pressure, and go, hang on. And I reckon Pauline would be going, you're going okay in this.
Yep.
You don't need the pressure.
Yep.
So, yeah, we'll wait and see.
But it's a hypothetical.
Yeah, hypothetical. Personally, I'm a Mark Williams fan. Yeah.
Would he be good for the Crows? As a Crows supporter, would you
Oh, yeah, I'd be
have him on
all
board?
for him, personally. But then I'm probably a bit more balanced. I'm not the fanatical, out of that way. In that way. So, yeah.
All right, mate, we're going to leave
I will say,
leave it there, except for the good, the bad, the ugly, mate. I'll let you go.
Yeah, my good. Look, I was invited to the Sample SANFL, as we got told to say, as past players, an official show on Friday. So I'd really like to thank Tony Simons for that.
Yep.
Really enjoyable day. I was a bit nervous and sort of thinking, was I worthy? And, of course, you get in there and you know people. And tell you what, a few of the Woodville boys and some of those stories. Romano Negri is a very funny man, and we will get him on the show at one stage. I can say, Pete, I was going up to guys for fun. Now, what's your number so we can get you on our podcast?
Yep.
And so,
you sent me the list.
I've covered ourselves for a fair while.
Yep.
So, yeah.
You sent me the list, and I went, wow, you've not only done well, but there's some nice names.
Yeah,
on
I
there
didn't
too.
muck around.
Absolutely. My good for the weekend was probably that I said it a bit earlier there that the AFLW is underway, and I'd prefer to have it at the beginning of the year, but it is what it is. We got what we got.
Yep.
And week 1 of the finals is here, so that's probably my good. And my bad for the week is that week off.
Come on, you cats. It could be an Anna Kournikova phone call into AA if they go down. Oh, that hour of radio, if they go down, will be vintage.
The gorilla will definitely be on the back.
Yes.
All right, mate. Thank you once again.
Thanks, mate.
Huge episode. And as per usual, we promise to do better.
Thanks, mate.
See you, mate.
In this crazy world we live in, we all need the distraction. Enjoying the show? Like, rate, and subscribe. Hook up and connect with us on social media at Sportscast SA. We'll see you next time on Game On.